All right, so this is your graph station. This is your independent station, but if you need help, that's what this video is for. All right, so our continuing bar graphs and circle graphs. So this says bar graphs, justified true or false. So it gives us a statement and we need to determine if it's true or false. Well, we know before we do anything, even before we read our problem, we're going to go ahead and analyze our graph. So it says that it's representing ticket sales. Down here we have the days, day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the number of tickets sold. Okay, so we have a cut up to 50, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 50, 60, 70, 80. So this first one is 80. 50. We're just going to say that it's up here at this line, 140. 50, 60, 70. And then 100, 110, 120. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and need my total. So my total is, let's see, 80 plus 120 gives me 200 there. And then I have 50, 70, and 140. So zeros, 5 and 4 is 9, plus 7 is 6, 2, 3, 4. So 460 is my total. Okay, awesome. So now that I have that, I can go ahead and get started on the actual problem. So my statement says the number of tickets sold on day 2 was half the number of tickets sold on day 1. Okay, so the number of tickets sold on day 2. So day 2 was or is, that means equals, okay, equals half is the same as 1/2, okay, of the number of day 1. So 1/2 of day 1, okay, true or false. So the justification is us simply solving it. So it's saying day 2 is half of day 1. So you're going to decide if that is true or false. And go ahead and plug your numbers in here to prove it. Okay. So now statement 2 says the number of tickets sold on day 5 was 150% of the number of tickets sold on day 1. Okay, so number of tickets sold on day 5. So day 5 was or equals 150% of the number on day 1. Okay, so 150% of day 1. So we're saying day 5 is, let me change my colors. Day 5 is 150% of day 1. So that should look familiar. So that should look like our, if you guys remember, we've always done part over whole is percent over 100. Well, we also said is over of is percent over 100. So day 5 is, so we're saying day 5 is 150% of day 1. Okay, so plug it in and see if that's true or false. Okay, so now that y'all finished the bar graph, we're going to go ahead and look at the circle graph. It says Chris's family is researching college costs to help him develop a college savings plan. Chris researched the average cost of a year at a public university and sketched a circle graph to show how he might budget his money. So it says, what percentage of the average annual cost did he budget for transportation? Okay, so we're looking for the percent, right? We want to know what's the percent of transportation, okay? So what does a circle graph represent? What percent? 100, right? So this represents, this whole thing represents 100%, okay? So we have 100%, and then so far we have 16, 7, 24, 42, and then we have transportation costs. Okay, so add all these pieces up. Okay, we have 16 and 7. Let's see, I'm going to add the 7 to 42. So now I have 49 plus, so that gives me the 42 and the 7. 4 plus 6 is 10, so that gives me 20 plus 20 is 40. So 89. So that leaves me 100 minus 89% gives me my transportation. So that's going to be 11%. So that means the transportation here is 11% of the budget. Okay? That one was easy peasy. That was just saying, hey, I know a circle graph represents 100%, and so I'm going to go ahead and add them all up and subtract to find the remaining leftover. All right, so number 2 says, in Chris's budget, transportation expenses represent 2,420. What is the average cost per year? So average cost per year. So transportation, is that a piece of the pie or is that the whole pie? Transportation is a part, right? Okay, so if I think about my proportion, transportation is a part. Oops. Okay, that should say transportation, sorry. So then it says, what is the average cost of a year? So college cost, the average cost of the year would be my total, right? And then, of course, percent over 100. So transportation, do I know how much money transportation it is? It says expenses represents or equals, so $2,420. And then, do I know a percent for transportation? Well, we just figured that out. I know 100% goes here, and it's asking what is the average cost per year? So average cost per year is my total, right? So we're looking for our total. Okay, so now that you solved that problem, now we're on number 3. It says how much more money, so how much more money does Chris plan to spend on room, board, transportation, and personal expenses than on tuition, fees, and books? Okay, so how much more? We know that's what operation? We're going to subtract. And we want to know how much more money. That's what we're looking for. We want the money. is he going to spend on room, board? So room and board is 24%. Transportation is 11%. And personal expenses is 16%. Then on tuition, 42%. And fees, that's all tuition and fees is 42%. And books, 7%. Okay, so how much more? So we're talking about on, okay, board, transportation, and personal expenses. Than on. Okay, than on. Okay, so we're looking for this total. So 24 plus 11 is 35 plus 16 is 51%. Is that right? Then on tuition and fees, so, and books. So that's going to be 49%. So how much more means you do what operation? Subtract. And once you find your percent, it's then asking you your money. So you're going to have to set up a proportion to find your dollar amount. All right, guys, I gave you less help on this, but I know you can do it. Make sure that you work the problem all the way through on your own. Don't just have what I have in the video. You need to make sure you finish the problem.